channels. And we broadcast daily, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on these channels. On Mondays, Expanding Your Business. Tuesdays, Natural Health and Wellness. On Wednesdays, we cover Mentoring Our Youth. And on Thursdays, our new show, Ideas Worth Knowing. And on Fridays, Women in Leadership. To be able to watch our television show on your favorite device, please go to e360tv.com and download the app for your favorite device. Brought to you by our producers and hosts, Jim Grant and Donna Guinois. Along with our hosts, Beata Severin Reed and Emerson Brantley. Supported by our admin team of Michaela Vidal and Gaia Guinois Balconi Weda.
Well, welcome everybody.
Hello,
Mike,
gentlemen.
Good to see you. And we've already got Cameron there. I didn't hide you, but I didn't hide you in the green room, Cameron. I had you there live when we came on.
Don't worry about that. Byron's an old pro, Emerson.
I know.
I'm so glad we could get you on the show, Byron.
Thank you.
Emerson, of course, you haven't met Byron until 5 minutes ago when we were supposed to put him in the green room. But Byron has a tremendous amount of startup and marketing experience. I don't want to read through his whole resume, but he's had his own TV show at 7 or 8. He was one of the driving forces that launched MTV, and he's got a whole bunch of other accolades and awards. But recently, Byron has really, he's still a marketing guy, but he's also launched a family business, and they're growing on a farm that's over a century old. The matron of the family is his mom, and she's 90 and still out there literally working the farm every day. So Byron, he got this fit of inspiration to help the planet by raising both hemp and CBD, and he's become quite an expert at it. His family is licensed and farming in the Carolinas, but he's also manufacturing, distributing, and even retailing on his website. So Byron is by far one of the preeminent experts on CBD. And I'm also proud to say that I helped him publish an international best-selling book on the subject. And yes, folks, you can see the web address for contacting Byron. Just go to that website and reach out, and they'll take care of you. And they've got some really fun products that hopefully we'll get Byron to talk about while he's here on the show.
Sure.
But Byron, we're excited to have you. And let me get it started with just asking you what inspired you to write the book on CBD and hemp?
Well, actually, I'm a patient of CBD. Several years ago around the pandemic, I was having problems with my hips, and they put me on naproxen and all this other stuff. And I started reading about CBD, and I asked the doctor if that was an option. And yes, he put me on CBD, and I was on it for a couple of years, but then the hips got so bad that I had to have them both replaced. So I was able to use CBD to offset using some of the painkillers when I did both of my hips. So that's how I found out personally about it. But also 5 years ago, my family started growing with the hemp program in North Carolina. It was a pilot program, and we've been growing for 5 years now. And we've been marketing. I'm in several stores here in Florida, North Carolina, and starting to distribute across the country now.
Okay. And, we went through quite a process writing the book, including we really dug into Byron's personal life, and all the steps that took him to where he's at today. And although the technical and the information part of the book is going to be fun for everybody, I really think taking the time to read his life story might be very inspirational too to folks. So when you're reading the books, folks, don't skip over that part and go right to the CBD part.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I can say this: they can actually, for any of you who go to Amazon and look for the book, you can actually read part of that life story, and it's very, very, very interesting and enlightening.
Well, and
it didn't just come up overnight for you.
And anyone that's truly interested in the book, if they go to Hemp Family Farms Inc. and sign up there, I think we can probably talk Byron into letting the listeners of this show have a digital download of his printed book.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
More than happy to. So,
yeah.
Thanks so much.
I want to stress Byron didn't do this for the money. God knows all the time he had to put into it. He did it because he's such an advocate for the entire industry. And why don't you talk a little bit about how you're getting contacts, what your mother and sister are doing from the female industry standpoint and that.
Well, Mom and Cindy started growing 5 years ago. We went to an event at Franny's Farm in North Carolina in Asheville, and we learned about the pilot program. So we started growing. My sister has a science background. She used to be a pharmacist. So she and my mom really got into growing different strains. So we grow at the house now, and we have 3 labs that we use for CO2 processing. And I actually learned a lot by writing the book because I had no idea that there's so many uses for CBD, and I had no idea what some of the medical properties were until I actually had issues with my hips as well. And then I started reading so much. During the pandemic, Publix here in Florida had different magazines every single month, okay? Every month. I read every one of these things. Well, CBD, complete book of CBD, just a ton of books. And I read everything I could get my hands on. I also joined Cannabis Lab and other associations like the Southeast Hemp Association in North Carolina, and just learned as much as I could. And then when I contacted Mike about working with me on the book, I really had absorbed as much as I could to share with him so that we could get started.
I think something that would be really good for a lot of our viewers, Byron, I don't mean to interrupt you, Mike, but there's a lot of confusion among a lot of people, and there are specific differences between legal hemp and marijuana, and there are those differences matter because the U.S. government has said that's okay.
That's right.
It's a good thing.
Hemp is legal in all states now, at least 48 that I know of here in the States. Marijuana is legal, I think, in at least 17 states now. It's either adult use or medical, and that seems to be coming along in other states as well.
Right.
But the big difference between the two plants is the hemp plant has a low THC content, whereas the CBD plant can have 12%, 20%, 30, 35% these days, so those are the two differences. And the legal amount of THC to have in any product, for example, we have a tincture, okay? This tincture, the legal amount to have of THC is 0.3%. And that gives you the entourage effect with all the other elements in there and really gives you the type of treatment that they're describing. So that's the difference between the two. And I have a lot of people that I know that have actually bought tincture, put it in the medicine cabinet, and still are afraid to use it because they think it's going to get them high. I mean, I met someone in the gym just this morning, my buddy Paul. He said, "Oh, Byron, I got some. I have it at home. I was afraid to use it." So, and I told him what the difference was. I said, "Bring it in. Let me look at the label," because any good product would also have if you don't mind me saying, a certificate of analysis. All the good products on the market has one of these from the lab, so you can tell exactly what's in the bottle.
Yeah, and I want to mention, if they don't come with that, don't buy them. You
That
know,
is
it's just
correct.
that simple.
That is correct.
You know, when we were doing the book, one of Byron's large customers, I won't mention any names, but they pretty much control most of the convenience stores in the country, I think, or they know the people that do. And they did some testing, Emerson, and they were shocked to find out that some of the CBD products they were selling over the counter had 0 CBD in them.
Or a low content, not the
Yeah,
amount that it said on the
yeah.
bottle. You know,
I
Well,
mean,
1,000 milligrams. Sure.
that's not surprising. I mean, let's take it in a whole different industry.
Yeah.
Make it olive oil. Just being able to buy olive oil and know that it really is olive oil that you're buying and it hasn't been blended with corn oil or something else to make it cheaper.
Or are your
Knowing that you
scallops?
got a certificate matters.
Are your scallops real? Don't they using?
Are you yeah? Are you exactly?
No, I mean,
could be
it's
shark.
really, yeah. So that's true. So I mean, it's great for me when I go to sell and I walk into a store. I contact a distributor. If they're interested in buying my products, I can prove it up. You know, they can talk to my lab anytime, and you know, we'll send it to another lab if they want to test it again. So you know, it's really the only way to be in the business. And we were very fortunate that my sister and my mom decided to test the area where we're growing. And it turns out that we had no mycotoxins and no heavy metals. So we've been growing in the same field now for 5 years, you know, and we'll be testing if we expand as well.
Yeah, and they're totally organic, which is I think the technical word is for it. It's a ton of work to be organic. You want to explain a little about how you guys do that?
Yes. First, you might use fish emulsion. I'm sure some people are familiar with that. It's an organic fertilizer. There's many out there now, and my sister, I'm not sure if she's using that now because that's really her game. That's what she does. But also, one thing I want to mention is we also I know we've used coffee grinds, and I know we've used cayenne pepper and several other natural ways to ward off the insects. For example, you can plant companion plants. Every few hemp plants, you can plant basil, oregano, and there's a couple other ones that help ward off because we get caterpillars and we get grasshoppers. But I remember whatever my sister put in the field, the grasshoppers were all over, but they weren't landing on the plants last year. And I know that Mom and Cindy are putting in plants probably right now. We do a 14-week run. So, you know, I'm hoping that we have another good year. It wasn't so bad with the pests last year.
Yeah, they physically go out there, Emerson, on a daily basis and
we do.
work the crops. You know, and it is a lot of handwork, especially picking bugs off and that sort of thing. But the amazing thing that I learned from speaking with Byron is a well-grown, mature plant will actually yield almost 2 pounds of usable flour. And that right now, I think we're looking at anywhere from $150 to $200 an ounce in retail value. So, you know, that's a pretty expensive plant. It could easily be in the $7,000 or $8,000 range per plant.
Yeah. Yeah, we discussed growing indoors as well, but it's really nice to grow outdoors. It's just because you're outdoors, you're working there, you can smell the soil, and it's really pleasurable.
Yeah, you do have greenhouses coming up, right, in your business plan, as I recall?
Yes, as a matter of fact, one of the uses for hemp now is hempcrete. I'm planning on building a hempcrete house on one of the farms, and we're going to be growing fiber for paper, hempcrete, probably toilet paper, and some other products in the future. So you can have a 14-week cycle on growing hemp, and a tree takes 20 years to grow. So which one should we cut down to make paper?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And, you know, that plant has a 200-year history of commercial farming in the U.S. You're muted, Emerson. Emerson? Still muted, Emerson. There you go.
Hello, gentlemen.
I had a call from my wife, so I had to mute. You know, an associate of ours or a friend of ours was very involved in the 3D printing arena. And one of the things that a lot of builders are finding is that not only is in 3D printing area for homes and buildings, office buildings and things like that, that hemp is actually superior in many ways to concrete. And it's a much more environmentally friendly than concrete, which the manufacture of concrete is very polluting. So I see a huge future for that whole industry in that arena. And that makes it so much easier, to take it and utilize it instantly.
Oh yeah, no, I've been in touch with the U.S. Hemp Association, Ray, who's the president of the company, and Jean Lotus, who's like the queen of hemp, and they're building houses in the country now. I believe they're working on one in San Antonio, and I'm just trying to get on the list because I'm in Little Sanford in North Carolina. But we have been talking about it, and within the next 2 years I'll have my house up. I'm ready to do the foundation now and put the well in and get started.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was blown away that there's literally over 5,000 different products that are either already developed or in development for use with hemp. But my favorite one, Emerson, is they're actually going to make drinking straws out of hemp. And they won't be like those smushy little paper pieces of crap we got to use now. So I'm really excited to see that hit the market.
Well, Mike, if I read his book right, there are over 20,000.
Wait, guys, okay, that number is always up for grabs. I Google it all the time. Guess what? Okay. Here we go. 52,000 products.
Okay, 52,000.
It's 52,000. And actually, I had written the book, and I was laying awake one night, and I Googled it. It came up to 24. I Googled it several more times and started reading all the articles. It is 52,000 plus. I wanted to make sure of that.
That's amazing.
And one of the things is you can make fuel out of it. And I saw an article 3 months ago. Oh, no, it was on television, on the news. They said if we were using ethanol and hemp fuel right now, it would be $1.28 a gallon. And I said, gee, is that high test or low? I mean, what a great price. $1.28.
Yeah. And, obviously all of us old hippies remember hemp clothing and that sort of thing. But what it really amounts to is hemp is just an extremely durable, easy to work with, certainly easy to grow fiber. And most of our products, except the plastics, are built on some kind of fiber, whether it's cotton or silk or wool. The difference is the cost to get it to the manufacturer is so much lower with hemp, and they make a hemp planet friendly.
They actually make a hemp plastic, don't they, Byron?
Yes, they're doing it now. There's several companies involved. They're kind of using corn now testing, but they're trying to get hemp plastic down to 3 months biodegradable. Wow. I think that, yes. I talked to several companies because I love to be the source. Love to be the source for the hemp straws. Love to be the source for the plastic hemp spoons, anything out there that we can be part of. Or work with other farmers, we'd really love to do, because quite frankly, hemp can save the planet. And that's something that I know that's one thing that many of us are not aware of. Hemp actually extracts radioactivity from the soil. I mean, there's foods, there's hemp protein, there's all kinds of different products that can be made. In fact, Henry Ford constructed a hemp car and was aware of hemp fuel back in the day, from what I understand.
That's amazing. Would you briefly go over some of the biggest misunderstandings that you get asked about when it comes to CBD?
Well, I have to say the biggest misunderstanding about CBD is, will it get me high? And I've had people that have bought it from the doctors, they've bought it from me, and they're still concerned about that. Now here's what I would like to say about that. If you're concerned about CBD getting you high, then you must buy CBD that says no, absolutely no THC. It'll be on the bottle. But most companies will make it with the 0.3% legal amount, okay? Because legally, you can have 3% THC in there, 0.3% THC in there, not 3%. And but if you take tests, I'm sure there's some drug tests now. If you're probably a first responder, I would guess that they're going to pick up the 0.3%. So if you have a company that tests, I would not recommend using CBD. In fact, I would not recommend using CBD unless you speak with your doctor first. Another thing that's a misconception.
So you're talking about like
Yes, a
employer
medical
testing.
doctor. Before you even
Okay.
decide, you're thinking about, because if you're taking other medications, some medications will conflict with CBD.
Hmm.
Grapefruit, for example, if you have low blood pressure, I know that if you're on blood pressure medication, you're not supposed to take grapefruit. Okay. Well, CBD is on that list. There are certain medications that you should not mix with CBD, and you should always check with your doctor.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon. I know they threw a fit before I went in for my 10-year test that I won't mention. They wanted to make sure that I had stopped taking baby aspirin for at least 2 weeks prior to
Oh, wow.
that. And you think what could be more innocuous than baby aspirin?
Yeah.
Well, folks, we're doing great things with chemicals, but man, don't ever lie to your doctor or your insurance man.
Right,
You
right, right.
will regret it.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
for me, my endocrinologist knows everything that's going on and into my body. I don't care who the doctor is, or over the counter, or
Sure,
vitamins.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good for your health, folks, but you got professional medical advice, follow it,
Absolutely.
and if the doctor's dead set against anything to do in the CBD and THC range, I would say you might want to consider talking to another doctor, because
Absolutely.
the majority of the well-educated doctors
Right.
now are very pro, particularly CBD. They're real pro
Yeah.
on,
Right.
and most of them, are okay with you testing this THC. I'm a bad guy. I've got a medical marijuana card, and I take THC, but I take it 1 hour before bed because I'm not taking it to get high. And since I've done that, I sleep for 8 to
It
9
puts you to
hours
sleep.
straight.
I know,
And
it's great.
folks, I'm 67 years old. Anybody in their 60s knows that sleeping, I mean, I don't get out of bed for 8 to 9 hours, folks.
Mhm.
And that was shocking to me. I'm totally taking it forever, because before that, I was waking up every 2, 3 hours, getting
Sure.
up, taking
Oh,
care of business,
oh,
back to
yes.
bed. Now I sleep for 8 or 9 hours in restful sleep. Now, could I take it during the day and get high? If I wanted that feeling, I could. But for me, it's medicine. It's not recreational. And I think everybody I've talked to in researching Byron's book has had a little different story
Yes.
about
Yes.
that. Uh, I had one friend that had been smoking what we call ditchweed since 1964.
Oh,
She
my.
went into an adult legal store up in Massachusetts and literally broke down and cried, because she'd been a criminal since 1964, and now she wasn't anymore.
It's a big
And
difference. It's a good feeling.
yeah, and this is someone that runs a major successful business in the U.S. It's not some hippie out back of the school. So yeah, times are changing. I'm so
Sure.
excited that you got on here to answer some of the questions, Byron.
Thank you.
But before we get too deep, could you tell me some of the things that set both your hemp family farms and your other brand, Tree Froggy, which we'll speak about a little too?
Mhm.
What sets them apart from the typical uh, CBD product that I can pick up, in a head shop or in a convenience store, or places like that?
Sure.
What's the difference?
Yeah, Mike, I'm glad you asked that. First of all, Hemp Family Farms is a family-owned company, and we are family financed. We have our meetings and we talk amongst ourselves. We don't have any issues. My sister's a former pharmacist, and she and my mom grow, and I'm the sales guy, and my nephew is the IT guy, and my niece and everybody, we all do sales. So we work together as a really good team. But one of the things that makes us apart from other companies is my sister started out on the right track by testing the land first to make sure that we had no heavy metals and no mycotoxins, because without that we could be growing, we wouldn't know, and we could have issues with our product. It would have shown up in the lab when we went to test our product after it came out of the ground. But I'm glad she tested ahead of time, so we've had no issues for the last 5 years growing. It's really been good. I'm glad you mentioned the sleeping, though, because last night I was watching a documentary on CBD, and one of the doctors has what do you call it? An anagram? No, 3 letters, SPA. So SPA, which stands for sleep, pain, and anxiety. Those are the 3 main things that people use CBD for. And you hit it on the head. The first one is sleep. And it's very effective for that. I've been using it for quite some time, especially after my operations. I had a client who's actually a musician. During the pandemic, he went back on tour. And he told me he bought 2 bottles and told me that it was great. He's able to sleep, and he's on tour hotel to hotel. So, it was really great for him.
Not an easy life.
Yeah, no, it's rewarding in some ways, but it's got to be tough. My cousin's a musician too, and I don't see how they do it, but they do a great job in entertaining us. Pain, I've used it for pain because when I had my hips done, I was put on Oxycontin, and I can remember 5 days without taking any, and I can remember never taking 2 in a day, never more than 2. Take 2 in the morning, and CBD took care of the rest all day long.
Yeah, and that
I
was
have my
with
medical marijuana card too, so I do smoke, and there are tinctures and other.
Yeah, there are times, and I want to mention I don't smoke it. I got it in a capsule. So for you non-smokers out there, you don't have to vape it or smoke it or any of that. When I tried to smoke it, it made me cough. So I take a little capsule, and the nice thing is, whether I took that capsule today or I take one of those capsules 3 or 4 months from now, it's going to be the exact same dosage. And a lot of new people really want to know, well, how much should I take? And the fact is, these operate on the brain, and so it's different for everybody else. You want to talk a little bit about where these CBDs and terpenes and the entourage effect and all that, what's actually going on in their bodies, Byron?
Yes, actually what's happening is we have an endocannabinoid system in our bodies. That's right. Let me say that one more time. Endocannabinoid system. Many of us probably have not heard of that because they didn't teach us this in science class. But let's see, where are we? Here we are. The endocannabinoid and body systems affect every part of the body, anywhere from the respiratory system, the nervous system, the reproductive system, your brain. It turns out that we have receptors in our body specifically for CBD. CBD is,
and they're all through our body, right?
Yes, it helps cure your body, and it's a homeostasis thing, from what I understand from the doctors.
Which is
doctor, but I've learned
balance.
It
getting your body in balance.
Balanced. Absolutely, and if you're really sensitive to it, and start to take it, you'll realize that it really can work for you. Now, another thing, CBD doesn't work for everybody. My doctors have told me that too. So again, if you're considering using it, always speak to a doctor. But the best thing is, if you're using the right CBD, it's natural, it's organic, it doesn't have side effects. It doesn't have a lot of side effects like Zoloft and some of the other things we used to take to go to sleep. So like I said, always speak to your doctor to get information about the products. But it may be something that you may need. I have a friend who just bought my products for arthritis. And actually, here are some of the things that CBD is good for.
Yeah, I want to preface before you say that it's good for so many things that it tends to shake your credibility because it's so damn good.
It's kind of hard to believe. The foot hasn't dropped yet. They haven't said anything bad about side effects. But
Byron,
yes,
Byron, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
because some of our viewers may not be able to see all of the things you're pointing to
Okay.
or keep up with the notes. If viewers were to go to your site, would that be a good way to reach out to maybe get some of this information directly?
Oh, absolutely. And you're welcome to call me. You can email me at any time, hempfamilyfarmsinc.com, and I can, discuss this with you or even make recommendations. I mean, I'm in Florida, and I do have doctors that I use too, if you want to speak to professionals.
So folks, we have the marquee there at the bottom of the screen. If you go to the site and use their contact information, he can send you some of a list of many of these things that it has been utilized for and where it's been shown to be effective in many studies.
Also, YouTube University.
Oh, yeah.
I would never tell someone not to go to college, but it's become so expensive. I hit up the YouTube. Okay. I can tell you right now, CBD versus THC. Anything you can think about on YouTube can give you so much information.
Mm-hmm.
The history of hemp, and all the programs will come up, and you can learn so much just by watching the YouTube videos. I mean, it's been a great help for me.
Yeah, and for those of us that are a little on the plus side too, it does not have the same appetite stimulation that THC does.
That's correct.
A lot of people, here, if you smoke marijuana, you're going to get the munchies. Well, if you take THC, you're going to get the munchies, not CBD. So, but you can discuss that with your doctor. I started discussing it with my GP, and I ended up schooling him because of all the information you had given me, Byron. Sure. So he left with a lot of homework after that appointment.
Many doctors, like my doctor here in Florida, are pretty booked with patients. So what he did was actually went out and hired a certified marijuana doctor, and actually told me he had several of his other patients, even older than I am, reducing the pain pills, 6 down to 2 a day as well. And that's pretty significant. So I think that's a really good thing.
Well, and for my wife, I mean, it helps the like neuropathy that she has. So
sure.
There are
I was
so
surprised
many
how long the
aspects.
list. Surprised how long the list really is.
Yeah, because it's absorbed all over the body. It really can affect so many different things. And I mean, it sounds like snake oil when he goes down that whole list, folks, but there's anecdotal evidence for every one of those things. Yes. There's not as much research yet, but that's because the federal government has kept all the researchers' hands tied until recently.
Right.
But there has been research in a lot of other countries.
Israel in particular.
What can actually be said and not said,
Yeah, we can say according to a study in Israel, but that isn't the same in America as saying the FDA said this.
Right.
But that's coming with the farm bill that made hemp legal throughout the country. Also untied the hands of a lot of researchers, and of course researchers in states where the states have made it legal have even more broadness in their studies. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have scientific studies and information real soon, folks, but it takes a long time to do medical studies and do them properly.
Trials,
but they're coming because this is if this had came out of laboratories, everybody'd be using it, but because it's a natural product, people are dubious.
Yeah, true.
Well, and it's been even in the legalizing of CBD all across the country, it basically is kind of been legalized under like not a pharmaceutical but a nutraceutical, like a nutritional supplement kind of a thing.
Right, supplements.
Which is just that by itself makes it under these loosey-goosey kind of laws that people literally, and maybe you want to address this, you kind of touched on it, Byron. People literally can make this in their bathtub and sell it, and you don't know where it's coming from. It's down at the corner gas station. in little bottles or little salves or things like that. And
Sure.
there's thousands of different brand names, and even in how they designate what percentage of whatever it is that you're getting alters between different companies.
Yeah.
So going back to the thing that you were saying about actually having the certificate and having been tested and the steps that you take, that's the kind of things that people need to learn to look out, do the research and look for.
Sure. There's a lot of shows too. Like I said, if you go to YouTube and you go to Dr.
Oh, yeah.
Oz, he had Sanjay Gupta on his show. In fact,
Yeah.
I use that as my presentation when I go out and I speak to a couple of companies. I always show that clip because they do analyze CBD and they talk about it. They tell you to talk doctors. Everything that we've said, they really confirm all that, and it's really great to hear doctors that we know and trust, the TV doctors, their opinion as well.
Yeah. It's amazing to me, Emerson, how quickly usage has grown since the Farm Bill was passed. But
Oh gosh, yes.
but it's a tremendous industry with lots of money in it. So folks, that means there's good players and bad players out there, and we can't stress enough.
Do your research.
Yeah, especially if you're going to a head shop or a convenience store or whatever, if you're at a licensed medical marijuana dispensary, they're already going through all that. They
Sure.
need those reports in order to qualify and that sort of thing. So you don't need to do as much due diligence if you're buying through a licensed dispensary. But, if you're buying, I wouldn't buy a hot dog or a piece of pizza at a convenience store. I don't think I'm going to get my medicine there either. But, that's just me. I really am kind of conservative when it comes to medicine. And it took me a long time to try CBD and THC. And all I can say is I could have cut 3 or 4 years of misery out if I'd just been an early
Probably
adapter.
so, yeah.
But every one of us, it's different. And I get questions all the time from my friends because they know I've got a card. Well, if I took it, how much should I take?
It's all different.
The answer is it depends on how many receptors you have in your body.
Right.
And where it also depends on where you've got damage in your body, because our minds are tremendous things. They'll send the medicine to the spots where it'll be the most effective. I don't know how my mind does it, but I know if I take something, it knows whether I have an earache or a knee ache, and it tends to take it to the right spot. Byron, let's talk a little bit about your products, because you've got an unusually diverse line of products. And in particular, the last one I want to finish up with, the fun one. But
sure.
Just tell us a little bit, maybe if you can show us some. You showed the tincture earlier.
Yeah, I had the tincture here. We actually have a tincture here that we made for humans. It's 1,000 milligrams, and it can be used for pain. It can be used for sleep and also anxiety.
Now, when you say 1,000 milligrams, that's the active CBD in it?
That's the active CBD, and that's in the whole bottle. So when you take some, you're taking just an eyedropper or a part of an eyedropper, which is also calibrated and measured here.
Well, and as opposed to edibles and ingestibles, that reacts a little quicker because you put it right under your tongue.
That is correct. A little
gets into your
quicker. The
blood
edibles,
system.
yeah, the edibles are more about 40 minutes for that.
Yeah.
But we also have a tincture for pets. I've got salmon and also chicken.
Hold it
And
a little
that's
bit more to the other
300
way. There we go. Thank
See
you.
that? 300 milligrams.
Yeah, that's what amazes me, is that this stuff really works on pets too,
Yes.
people. And it's not going to get your Cocker Spaniel stoned,
No.
but it will help them with a lot of pet health problems.
Yes. Another product that we're really proud of would be for pain, the roll-on, which would be used, if you're working out, you come home, your muscles are aching, they're inflamed. CBD is excellent for inflammation. So I go to the gym 5 times a week, And I ride my bike. I exercise a lot. I swim every day. So this is a really good product for me. This particular one is 500 milligrams, but we also have a salve, which is 1,000 milligrams.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV, but I will
Me either.
say I do use the roll-on
Otherwise,
one in place of icy hots, which
yes.
a lot of workout people are familiar with. But the icy hot was just numbing the pain. It wasn't I mean, it was just topical. It would numb the pain, give me a little relief for a little while. Where in my experience, the CBD seems to get in there and actually fix the inflammation. And that's a night and day difference, because I'd much rather repair my body than to just cover up the pain. Same way with opiates. I couldn't imagine taking any opiates anymore until I first tried to treat it with CBD.
Sure. The
Because
side effects from opiates, if you have to take them long term, are bad, and it really messes up your system and makes you very constipated, which is another issue with that particular type of painkillers.
Yeah, it sure is. Well, I have a whole list of questions here, Byron, but
Hold on, I got one more product.
Okay, sorry. Oh, yeah.
Now these are our Delta 8 lollipops. You can also make Delta 8 from CBD, the CBD plant in the lab. However, this is psychoactive. Okay, I do have CBD lollipops. With grape and cherry, and they are fantastic. You can have the CBD lollipops. And by the time you finish the lollipop, you might notice that you're a little calm.
And please don't do that. And don't do that.
You gotta love working in your home office. I have not seen the pineapple flavored one. We're gonna have to get together for lunch.
Oh yes, let's have lunch.
Yeah.
Let's have lunch this week. These actually. I want to just say about these. These are Delta 8s. There is Heritage Smoke Shop in Boca Raton. They were the first people. Michael, who owns it, said, "Look, Byron, if you make these lollipops, I will buy them." And he was the first person to say that. So I made 5,000 Delta 8 lollipops and 5,000 CBD lollipops, and they're selling very well.
Does he let you smoke cigars in his shop, or is
not
it just a retail?
Not yet? There's a cigar place right next to it, and a tattoo place. But yes, my mom and my sister came up with the idea for lollipops, and it's one of our best sellers. They're very nice.
It's convenient. Everybody loves lollipops. It was ingrained in us as a kid, but actually the nice thing is you can hold it in your mouth and you slowly ingest it through the membranes in the mouth, as opposed to the gummies where you chew them up real quick and swallow.
And they kind of go, that's true.
And he does have gummies too.
Oh, by the way, these are the gummies. Now these are Delta 8s, but I made Delta 8 lollipops from my lab, but I am now making vegan. They're also going to be gluten-free. And in a few weeks, I'll have that. They taste fantastic. Okay. And they're going to be CBD. Well, I'm doing a Delta 9 and a CBD. Again, the CBDs do not get you high. They're certainly to calm you down.
Yeah. Can you talk just a little bit about the difference between that and Delta 8 and Delta 9? Because I'm seeing all three. And, I know none of them are the full strength THCs, but I'd love to hear from an expert.
Right. Well, I'm learning the difference between the two. I can tell you right now, for some reason, Delta 8 is kind of falling to the wayside, and everybody's making sodas of Delta 9 and all kinds of Delta 9 products. In fact, my new gummies, these are Delta 8. My new gummies are going to be Delta 9. And I'm still reading about it. I think it's a little cleaner. I think the high is a little different. So I'm waiting for my samples to try when I get them. But both Delta 9 and Delta 8 can be created from the hemp plant in the lab, and they both are psychoactive, like THC. They are a form of THC. In fact, on the label, it'll probably say 9 THC Delta 9 right next to it. So,
okay.
Just like with the deltas, there's more than just CBD. I've used CBN
Yes.
at nighttime, and CBG for mood and things like that. So
and
there are
RSO
other
oil.
Yeah.
there are other variations.
Yeah, maybe you could talk about RSO oil, since it's one of the longtime ones, the Rick Simpson oil.
Yeah, Rick Simpson oil. I actually made Rick Simpson oil with the magic butter machine with my friend Karen, probably a couple years ago. And we did it with an ounce of Granddaddy Purple or Gorilla Glue. I think it was an ounce of Gorilla Glue, which is marijuana, and 750 milligrams of grain alcohol. Put that in the magic butter machine for 8 hours, and it makes the crude oil that you need, and you strain it. You then take what you strained to a rice cooker outside, and you put a fan on it. And I went on YouTube and watched the video while I did this, because it is flammable. So you have to do the second part outside in the backyard. So we cooked it down and got about 5 grams of Rick Simpson oil. It's like a black tar. You can use
so
it
you've
for
cooked the
melanoma.
alcohol out of it, though?
Cooked the alcohol all the way down.
Okay.
It looked like water, and then it cooked down to this tar that looked like a molasses. And it's very strong. And you can actually use it. It's been known to cure melanoma, skin cancer. You put some on the little spot you have, your scab, and put a little circular Band-Aid on that, and a couple of days later, it's gone. And that's what a lot of people have told me. They're using Rick Simpson oil now because of, the cancer thing. A lot of people are taking it as a preventative or just as a healthy alternative to supplement their diet. It's probably a smart thing to do once we saw that. So I made it once, and a friend of mine had some friends who had cancer, and I donated the Rick Simpson oil to them.
Okay. As a first-time user, I need to go to a reputable store and look for it to be licensed. But what would you suggest that I start with? I'm a big boy. I'm a couple 100 pounds. So,
Oh yeah.
But would you suggest the
rule of thumb,
9, the CBD, rule of thumb?
The rule of thumb. The rule of thumb. If you let's say you're Rick Simpson oil, the rule of thumb is a grain of rice. You actually start with a grain, the Rick Simpson oil that comes out of a syringe or however it's dispensed, a grain of rice, about that size, and you start there and see how that affects you. And then you add grains of rice, because again, it's very strong, and it, like any medicine, it does affect people differently.
So with CBD, would you start out with 10 milligrams, 25?
Whatever the doctor recommends. And usually they do say 10 or 25.
Okay.
Our lollipops are 25. All of our products we've started with the 25 milligram, including our gummies. They'll either be 20 or 25 milligrams.
Yeah, well, your typical client usually is already pre-educated.
Yes.
They've got to the point where they know they need a top-of-the-line medical grade product. So that doesn't surprise me that's the case. What are some of the negatives about CBD products that you see in the marketplace?
Well, a couple of the negatives we spoke already. You want to make sure that you are getting CBD when you do buy it. But also, I mentioned it earlier, it can conflict with other medicines from the pharmacy. So always check with your doctor on that. I honestly can't think of any other negatives that I know of, because every product will be different as we start comparing the clothing and the fibers and cotton as we get down the road. But we're set up to be planting hemp fiber. Those plants grow about 12 feet tall, and you plant the fields plant to plant. So I'm looking really forward to that for next growing season.
Well, and I want to mention that Byron's company owns multiple different farm fields, and they've owned them for over 100 years.
Yes.
So they're not new to the farming business, and obviously they've been good stewards of the land, or they wouldn't be getting the production they're getting now. Sure. So he has plenty of room to rotate crops and make sure that the soil stays healthy. And what seed you plant and what ground you plant it in are everything in
Sure.
any of our agriculture. And the lack of heavy metals and that sort of thing, for most people, doesn't sound like anything big. But if you get heavy metal poisoning from ingesting too much over the years,
Sure.
you will understand, folks. And you don't want to go anywhere near that, because it doesn't cure itself. That's why they call them heavy metals. They come into the body, they don't go out. Mercury and big game fish
That's
like
the one.
marlins is a
Yeah.
prime example. It's a heavy metal that's it's a one-way into the human body. What else are we going to talk about today, Byron? We got another 5 minutes. What would you like to make sure we cover?
Well, I'd just like to let everybody know that hemp can save the planet. I mean, I'm going to build a hempcrete house, and I've been told that that house will absorb my carbon dioxide that I expel for 20 years. The entire family. It's also more fire retardant, mold retardant, and it's a very strong material. You make it with lime, the hemp fiber just with lime, just like you make cement. And it seems like there are going to be more and more products that are going to be, help us and help us save the planet. I mean, Elon Musk is going to take 1 million people to Mars, but quite frankly, I don't think we're going to be on that ship. And if we're not, I think we better save the planet we're on right now.
I totally agree
Good point.
with you.
Good
Emerson,
point.
anything you'd like to add?
Well, I was just going to say that actually I found the subtitle to the book, and that's it. It's help us light the fuse to save our world.
That's exactly what we need to do.
We struggled
That's
with
it.
that, Emerson. We thought about some cute CBD type titles, but really the overall goal for Byron and for the book is to get people more interested in using hemp products, because we're all going to benefit from it. It's we don't have any more old growth forests to cut down. So
Right.
we need to start looking for alternatives. And trust me, somebody hauling enough hemp down the road to build a house is going to be a lot more less obnoxious than all those big gravel trucks going down the road carrying the gravel, or the killing cement and all that.
Sure.
It's those trucks are nasty, and I don't know how else to say it. I'm sure our people in the concrete industry will love us saying that, but it's true. And hemp, on the other hand, well, like they're already using hemp insulation and having great
Yes.
effect with it because of the fiber. So it's they spray that into the cavities,
Yes. I've watched
and
this.
it complete seals the house.
And very insulating too.
Yes, very insulating and totally
Yeah.
seals. It's the problem is adaptation. If enough people adapt it, the
Yes.
cost is going to be very reasonable,
Right.
less than what we're using now. But at the very beginning, when you're blazing a path, the cost of some of these things is a little bit more than the cost
Sure.
of current construction. Like he could do a concrete block house that adds to his carbon footprint, or he could do a hemp house that covers his carbon footprint for 20 years. One of them's going to cost a few bucks more.
But in the long run,
in the long run,
it's great for all of us too.
Yeah.
It's like solar energy. I mean, we had a
I
bill
was gonna
one month
say,
for
yeah.
$800, and my mother and my sister went out and got us solar for the farmhouse, and we are very happy we did. Oh my God! Never another oil bill that high again.
Yeah.
$800 in 1 month.
Yeah. And I want to mention, Emerson, too, that Byron is extremely giving of his knowledge. So anybody that's actually thinking about getting into the industry, Byron has spent 5 years working his butt off to become one of the experts in the country. But he loves the business. So if you contact him
Sure.
at his website, he will get back to you. I've seen him do it with several people. And, I've been in the room when he answers all of the customer emails. So it really is Byron they get to speak with, which in the AI age is something that there's a real human out there.
No,
on
it's
the other
really
end of
me.
that
It's
email.
really
Well,
me.
I just posted something else there, Mike, because just kudos to you for bringing
Thank you.
bringing Byron into the whole picture here. but Mike's publishing company actually published that book and made it into a bestseller. I think you've had over 800 bestsellers over the years with your authors. And so, just kudos to both of you. And I'm so glad that you're here with us today, Byron, and bringing this information out to everybody.
Thanks, gentlemen. I really appreciate being on, and you guys having me on. I learned when I got into the business that there's a really big area of education that's needed. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book. And I'm so happy that I was able to work with Mike on it, because it really is a very informational. And I do like sharing that with everybody. I think that is what it's all about.
Yeah,
and most of the people I've met in the industry are just fantastic, just like you guys. It's fun to be in this business.
Well, and all of us are of the age where we're not trying to build a great big company anymore. Right. I mean, Byron helped launch MTV. Emerson has done some huge things. I had a $100 million company. We're doing what we're doing because we want to leave a legacy. Yeah. We want to leave the planet for our grandchildren, or in my case, a couple of great grandchildren. But that's what happens when you get married when you're 16. So folks, we're not really looking to sell you anything. We're looking to educate you, and then you'll know whether or not and what to purchase. Emerson works real closely with the U.S. Green Chamber. You're actually on their board, right, Emerson?
Oh, right. That's right.
Yeah. Yep. So, and anybody.
So these things about the environment, these things about organic and things like that. Wow. They're personal health issues. They also are really world issues. And your book, Help Us Light the Fuse to Save Our World, the Green Explosion, goes hand in glove with that. I'm going to put your website up there one more time, and then we're going to have to call this a show.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's great. It's great to learn more about hemp. I'm learning more every day. Like I said, I still watch several videos, and there's a lot of information out there now as research starts.
It's great, all the information you've been sharing with us too. I really appreciate that, Byron. And we're also doing Emerson, you can take us out. I can tell him after the show.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for a great show.
Sure. Excellent, gentlemen.
Thank you.